Hello and welcome back to the garden in June. I'm really excited to show you the garden this month because in my opinion it's the best month for the garden. We have an abundance of fruits and vegetables. The flower garden is looking at its absolute best. The rest of the garden looks really beautiful. The long grass is looking fabulous. It's filled with butterflies and insects. The woodlands are also filled with lots and lots of invertebrates, and everything is looking really happy and healthy. And for those of you who don't know where we are, we're based in Cornwall, which is at the very southwesterly tip of England. It means that we get the coastal breezes, so it keeps everything a little bit cooler, and we also get some good rainfall, which obviously helps everything when it's growing. And for me, I particularly love this time of year because the garden feels at its absolute most romantic. I really love an English country garden. It's just the most beautiful thing in my opinion, and it's in June that I feel that the garden really peaks in its beauty. So I'm really excited to show you the garden this month, and let's go and take a look. So I really wanted to start off by showing you one of my favourite places, which is right here amongst the grass in the meadow. And at this time of year, it's so beautiful. It's full of swallows that are sweeping and diving around the long grass, trying to find the invertebrates who live here. And we've got lots of butterflies and lots of grasshoppers. So it's a really lovely space, full of movement and softness and calm and tranquility. We've also had lots of wildflowers here. So behind me are the seed heads of the native purple orchid. We have lots of the purple orchid that grow through here, and they wouldn't be here if we didn't leave the grass grow long. We don't cut it until the end of August or the start of September, which allows all of the perennial wildflowers to establish themselves, and it also allows for everything to self-seed. So it's a really beautiful space, just with a few simple paths cut through it, and it is one of my joys of June. You'll notice as I come down through here that there are no chickens. The electric fence has gone, there are no chickens unfortunately. The fox came and took all of our chickens at the end of May, which was a really hard day. The children were absolutely distraught. But we have got some more hens coming in about a week's time. We've got some new fencing going up. So I'm hoping that we don't have a return of Mr. Fox, because I don't want to have to go through what we went through at the end of May with losing all of the hens. So let me take you down into the cottage garden. The perennials starting to kind of come up. The foxgloves, the native purple foxglove, have been huge this year. Ruben and I came out and measured them, and the tallest one was 2.4 meters in height, which I think that's possibly the tallest foxglove I've ever grown. So welcome to the veggie garden, which I've never really properly shown you, but we have 6 raised beds in here which are built with railway sleepers, and this is my mum's domain. I really can't take any credit for it at all. She is the person that is an excellent vegetable grower, and it's quite productive for spring, summer and autumn, less so in the winter. We tend to not have masses of overwintering things, but this has been a bit of an experiment this year. So this is a removable polytunnel, a bit like you'd have a low tunnel. It's just a little bit higher, and under it she's growing tomatoes and peppers. So it's a bit of an experiment to see how well they fare in here rather than in our permanent structure polytunnels. So far so good. They're really loving the ventilation in here. Obviously we've got the height so they can grow a bit taller, but it's keeping the worst of the damp weather off, which is something that tomatoes tend to not like so much. But there's lots and lots happening in here. There's some courgettes in here. We've got carrots, which my mum has successfully managed to grow this year without the carrot fly coming onto it. So fingers crossed that's all right. We've got beetroot. There's always some salad on the go. There's onions up here. We have a brassica cage, which Again, you can see this is really nice and tall, so the brassicas get huge, and this is keeping off the cabbage white butterfly. And she also grows her onions in here. What else have we got? There's peas, lots and lots and lots of peas. It's been a really good year for the peas. And these are all sugar snaps, I think. I eat them when they're very sort of young fresh peas, so I eat them a bit more like mange too. And I also let them mature, and so I shell them as well. So lots and lots and lots of things happening in the vegetable garden, and it has been a really, really good year for anything that's edible. We've had fantastic production happening on our apple trees. The plum trees are heavily laden, and the fruit, I'll show you the fruit cage. The fruit is looking really, really good. So it's the freezer is filling up because it's been a bit of a bumpy year. So if I go into the fruit cage, which is really necessary to stop the blackbirds and the other small birds eating all of this fruit. And you can see we've got absolutely masses. At the moment we've got tayberries on the go, lots and lots of tayberries, and the raspberries are following up. We've got lots of raspberries coming. We have suffered this year with the sawfly on the gooseberries and the red currants as well, so we've got quite a lot of fruit on there, but we are struggling with the sawfly. It's been a big year on anything that's like an aphid or caterpillars. It has been a really, really big year for them. They seem to have really loved the spring as much as the bees have enjoyed it with pollinating everything. So we've got lots of fruit, but we've also got a lot of small pests. And if we head on into the polytunnel, the fixed polytunnel, you can see we've put up lots of shading, and this is because we've got all the cucumbers in here, and they really don't like all that intense sunlight that we get in summer. There's also aubergines in here, and there's some more peppers, and there is bush tomatoes as well. So there's a real mixture of vegetables in here, things that really do like the heat. So we've got a combination of those tomatoes and peppers that are outside under that removable polytunnel, and then in here in the fixed polytunnel there is another load. So it's a bit of an experiment this year to see whether or not we can get crops happening under that kind of tunnel, whether or not they really like the sort of the structure that you hear. This is definitely much hotter than that one out there, but yeah, if we have a good summer we should have a crop in both places. So the flower polytunnel has changed a bit since you were here last, and it's really starting to look nice and full. And look at the colour of the Lavaterra behind me. Isn't that amazing? It's so bright. We've got lots of these really lovely little violas and pansies that I grow from seed every year, and these go out in little boxes that I send out for cake makers to press or to put directly onto their cakes. And because everything is grown organically here, these are completely safe for putting on their food. We've got larkspur for the very first time as well. So I've always struggled with getting my larkspur to germinate, and finally this year I managed to get larkspur to germinate, and it's just started to bloom, and I'm really, really excited to have larkspur at long last. I think I'm going to have to cut some of that and make a arrangement, so I probably will grab a bucket in a minute and I'll cut some flowers and make a little arrangement for you guys, especially as I want to appreciate that larkspur. Alrighty, let's go and have a look at the cutting garden and see what it's doing. Okay, so here we are in the cutting garden, and you can see the dahlias are really starting to grow now. I haven't quite got any in flower yet, but they're not far off. And I'm quite relieved that we're almost in dahlia season, because my roses are starting to slow down a little bit now. I've cut very heavily from them over the last few weeks for all of my wedding floristry, and they need a bit of time to recover. So the perennials are really starting to get going now. It does take a while for the perennials to start producing flowers, so the annuals are really important to get us kicked off for the season. But things like our feverfew is now starting to flower. Doesn't that just sort of say summer? Having daisies in the garden just really sort of has a summery look, and it's such a useful flower for floristry because it's a great filler. And I'm pleased to say that our sweet peas are finally doing something. I lost most of my sweet peas to an easterly wind in the springtime, but finally the sweet peas that are left have started to flower, and they are smelling amazing. But I have to say, I really love this framework that I've created for them. Back in around the start of March, I went up into our woodland and I coppiced some hazel poles and stripped them of any twigs or leaves that were on there and turned them into some really usable poles for this framework. And then I put over the twine netting that the sweet peas can then cling to and be woven through and climb up. And it creates this really lovely organic structure within the garden. I think I could have used bamboo, but actually there's something about hazel that just feels a little bit softer, a little bit more rustic. You can see it's kind of got some shape to it. It's created this nice kind of bend within the framework. It just looks a little bit more organic, and I really, really love it this year. So the cosmos has just started to flower, and I always grow some whites, but I also like to have a mixture of other things going through. So I've got a really, really dark sort of plum coloured one out down there, and there's also Cosmos apricota, which has got that kind of pinky apricot colour to it. Over here, look at this. I've also got a self-seeded parsnip. So I quite often will grow parsnips tucked in the corner of one of the cutting beds as a cut flower, because when you let a parsnip go to seed, they actually create these great big flower heads, and they can be quite useful for just kind of having in a really large arrangement. So look at my hollyhocks. I'm so thrilled with these hollyhocks. They were saved seed that my dad saved from a friend's garden and gave me, and I sowed them, and I have never had, as a younger person, never had any luck with hollyhocks. They were always eaten, and I just love them. There's something so romantic, so quintessentially English about a hollyhock, and I'm so thrilled that I finally got some in the garden. And I never cut them because I just can't bear to. They are so lovely. Towards the end of the summer I might potentially cut one or two, but at this time of year I just adore them, and I love the way that the garden looks with them in it. So they are here for me to enjoy growing, and also for the insects to enjoy. And something else that the insects love is this. And this is a perennial, and it's a giant scabious, and it is huge. You can see how tall it is. It's about sort of 2.5 meters, and it will continue to grow as well. And you get these lovely big flowers which the bees really enjoy. The buds are actually really beautiful as well, and they then turn to fantastic seed heads. So this will hold its structure right the way through the winter. I do have to give it a little bit of support because it would just sprawl all over the other cutting beds. But isn't it fabulous? I've actually moved some of it into the garden. It does liberally self-seed everywhere, and I have to pull it out of other beds. But some of its self-seeded babies I've popped into the cottage garden because I just adore it. The lavender's been really good this year, and the Alchemilla mollis as well. So a lot of those perennials have been really, really loving the conditions this summer, with the really warm, dry conditions, particularly the lavender. It's just really loved this year's conditions. The Celine as well has been fantastic. So the common name is bladder campion, and it grows on the coast paths within Cornwall, and I love to use it as a lovely filler. It just has a very wildflower feel about it. It is a perennial, but it is also a liberal self-seeder, and like things like Nigella, once you have it, you'll never be without it because it will self-seed everywhere that is happy. And another perennial that is doing really well is this one. This is Lysomachia, or gooseneck strife, and you can understand why it's called gooseneck strife because of this sort of gooseneck type flower head. And these will flower with this lovely white flower that's just in bud at the moment. It's coming open, and once the flowers fade, you're replaced with a fantastic display of very vibrant red leaves. It's very, very thuggish. So this was just a couple of plants about 2 years ago, and now you can see there's masses of it. I have put in some restrictions so it can't spread too far, but at the moment I'm quite happy to encourage it to spread a little bit because it gives me so many stems, and of course it's so dense that there's no weeds growing underneath here either, which is really helpful for me because I am at this time of year particularly time poor when it comes to weeding. So anything that's giving me some good ground cover and preventing the weeds coming up is an absolute bonus. And these flowers, when they're in full bloom, look really elegant and really beautiful. And of course the verbena is just starting to start flowering. I've never had to sow verbena. It always liberally self-seeds everywhere. And as much as I love it, I do pull most of it out when it self-seeds. So I'm just left with a few plants. It's a lovely vibrant purple, but you have to kind of use it quite wisely when you're doing floristry. I find that it doesn't necessarily always work. The bees love it, and I've got it there when I need it, but I don't need it as a cut flower that often. It looks lovely growing here though. Now this is my bed of echinops, and you can see it's not quite turning blue yet. So these big thistly flowers will soon be absolutely covered with bees because they absolutely adore the echinops. At the moment we've got quite a lot of black fly on them, but actually the ladybirds and the wasps and the flies have all been feeding on the black fly, and it's looking a lot better than it was. So the whole ecosystem is working really, really well. Then over here, this is probably my favourite bed this summer. It's looking at about its best right now, with a combination of corn cockle, and there's some wild carrot here. And the wild carrot I've got is the purple variety, so it's got this lovely kind of purpley flower head. You can see there it goes really nice and dark. And then we've got the very, very vibrant colours of the straw flowers, which look incredible on a day like today. They open up with the sunshine and then they close over when the sun goes in. And when they're open, that's the perfect time to pick them, and these will dry and hold their colour for several years. And they sound like straw, which is why they're called straw flowers, but they come in a huge range of colours, and I think they're really fun. And then my cornflowers. I don't grow masses of cornflowers, but they are so abundant at this time of year, and the bees are really, really loving them. In fact, actually, I think I might use this bed as inspiration. I feel quite inspired by the colours that are in here. So I might go and grab my bucket and pick some of the flowers that are in here and use this colour palette of these really, really strong, bright summer June colours and create a really joyful arrangement for the house.